Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Aycock's head football coach, Steve Brooks. How are you doing
I'm
today?
good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you tell me how you wanted to become the head football coach at Aycock?
Well, I have been an assistant for, 15, 16 years. I grew up a coach's son, and I knew I felt like I was ready to be a head coach. You always feel like you're ready to be a head coach, just like if you were fighting Mike Tyson, everybody thinks they have a plan until they get punched in the mouth. But, I was ready. I felt like I was ready to be a head coach, and the opportunity came up, and lucky enough that got in hold of Coach Charles Davis, and I got an interview. And after a bunch of years of putting in work, I got the opportunity to be the head coach at Aycock, and been there 7 years, and it's been a blast.
Where were some of your places that you went before Aycock?
I was at Richlands, which is near or is in Oslo County. I was there for 7 or 8. I got to coach Mario Williams, that was a number 1 NFL draft pick. He took us all to the NFL draft, so that was a huge, huge deal. Also, Eric Graham, that played at East Carolina. He was a 4-year starter at ECU. So those were some big-name kids. I did a year at East Carolina where I was my title, and I actually have the contract. I was the assistant director of football operations, and then I assisted the quarterbacks coach and the offense coordinator. So on Saturdays, I was in the booth upstairs talking to the offensive GA and the offensive coordinator. Didn't get paid a dime, did it for free. So I was, I guess, on the very first steps of, the volunteer assistant at the college level. I luckily had a support system that allowed me to do those type things. And then I was at Aiden Grifton for, I believe, 8. I was there from 2005 to through the 2012 season. I started Aycock in 2013. So those are just some of my stops, and I'm lucky to be around a lot of great coaches, a lot of great players, a lot of great people, and we're just keep trying to get the train, keep it rolling at Aycock.
What are some of your favorite moments as a coach at Aycock?
Well, obviously my first win was, is huge, because I had worked so hard to get to that point, and to come out of the box like we did, and have your first win against your rival, that was huge. But just some of the games, you can't just pick one. But I would say, obviously the very first win, that first team, then the 2016 team was pretty special with Jake Flowers and Chandler Matthews and Damian Darden and those guys. They were a lot of fun to coach. We had some, I think we still have the record with Conley as the most points scored in a game, and we had almost done it the week before with Rose, scoring in the 70s or close to the 70 points. So, those were fun games to be a part of. Scoring that many points, doing those type of fun things. Obviously, the 2018 team. That we finally got our first 4A win over New Bern, our rival at home on homecoming. That was huge, and then I would say probably the starting 6-1 this year, and having Hootie Fridays and a lot of the fun things we did with those kids. I would say those are probably all my top moments at Aycock.
I know how the student section has got rowdier over the years since you've been there. How has that changed from the first time that you stepped into Aycock than now?
Well, I mean, it's awesome. I love it. Blake Dilda was a big, huge part of that, and as student body president and former player, and he would get with me on Mondays and kind of bounce ideas off of me, and I would kind of tell him kind of what we were thinking, uniform combination, and it went from there. But yeah, just those kids, man, they were with us all the way from home games, away games. Very supportive. I loved it, absolutely loved it. I felt like with the culture change we were having at Aycock that we could ever get to that level, we would have some special Friday nights. And And they were a big part of when I challenged the community to let's sell the place out. And obviously, you don't have many sellouts at high school level, but there were 3 straight weeks there at Aycock where I don't think I've seen that many people in 7 years. So, our students are awesome. They do such a great job, and I love all those kids, and we miss them, and we hope this football season, just because Blake's gone, somebody else is going to take the reins of that and make it even bigger and better. And hopefully also with a new administration that'll allow some of those things to happen, will be better too. So, it's going to be an exciting year.
Who do you see some of your players that will be stepping up into the leadership role being?
Well, obviously Clay Matthews has been there a while, and he's going to lead. And with Olajuwon and Tay graduating, a lot of things are going to be on Clay's shoulders. But I see guys like Harrison Hanson being more of a vocal leader, Dalton Barfield being more of a vocal leader. Those are just some seniors that are coming back. And then I see some young guys. Wyatt Aycock is just a sophomore, but I could see him being a leader of that offensive line. And Matthew Newsom has been there for 3 years, and he's going to lead that O line. But I think Wyatt can be a pretty special player too. And defensively, Omar's gonna have to step up and play a major role in our defense, and along with Elijah Davis. But yeah, those are just some guys that I think that could handle that role and be really good at it.
What does it mean for some of your former players that have had D1 offers as a coach? How does that feel for you?
Well, I'm just extremely proud of them. They're the ones that put in the hard work and they had the dedication to take care of things in the classroom and then on the field. So, everything should be praised on them for all their hard work and then obviously their families. And then, we're just along for the ride. We get to be a special part of it, and extremely proud of those kids that I've been fortunate enough to coach in football. And then there was a couple that I was, when I was assistant baseball coach when I first started at Aycock that went on and played Division I baseball, that I'm very proud of those kids too. So we've had some really good athletes at Aycock, and we got some really good coaches coaching them, and they come from really good families. So just lucky to be around these kids and be a part of it.
Where do you see the program heading in the next 5 years to 10 years?
Well, we're obviously trending. We've made that culture change. We started to make turn that corner, and a lot of those kids that we have now on our roster were the Little Falcons and things like that, and they kind of came up through trying to understand the direction that we were trying to take our football program. And I think with realignment, we can get into a conference hopefully that matches us up, same size and athletic ability and speed wise, with the type of kids we have at Aycock. And obviously with the new administration, hopefully we can get our kids in the weight room and be able to have them be bigger, faster, stronger, and get it done daily instead of having to try to find ways to get them in the weight room like we've had to do in the past. So we're definitely on an upward trend. We need to continue to climb that mountain, not ever be satisfied where we're at, and the sky's the limit for sure.
With the realignment of moving to a strictly just 3A conference, how does that help Aycock?
Well, hopefully that's what happens. Hopefully we get to play in just a 3A conference, but it allows us to play against schools that have around the same number of kids we do. We wouldn't be playing like a New Bern or a Conley or a Rose that, Rose is 3A now, and so is technically Conley, but, they have 80 or 90 guys on their roster, where we have 45. So, a lot of it goes back to matchups. A lot of it goes to, how many kids you have playing on both sides, how much depth you have, things like that. That's the main difference between 3A and 4A football.
Would it help when you move to the 3A to play, like, for example, Cleveland, who has, like, a pro-style team with Omari Hampton as the running back?
Well, I mean, those would be teams we would face in the playoffs and things like that. they're so well coached and such a great program that that's where we want to get to. And we've scrimmaged them or had them at our Jamboree last year and got to see firsthand just how well coached they are and how great they are, and they're going to be really good again this year. So just be interested to see where we fall in if we end up in the same conference with them. Try to get to their level and try to make our program as successful as they've made theirs for sure.
With the coronavirus happening, do you see that your Jamboree might get canceled and the season, that preparation might be cut?
I don't know. That's the big question right now. When is football going to come back, and when are we going to have our season? I don't think it's smart that we I have no problem starting practice August 1st, but I don't think it's smart that we play a game August 21st with our kids only 20 days of practice and not had our hands on them since March 13th. There were some things that, the 80s that everybody says, well, we started practice August 1st in the 80s and then we played a game 20-some days later. But, things were also different then. You didn't have some of the restrictions that you have on you now as far as contact and practice and humidity and all those things. So, I don't think starting practice August 1st is a bad idea. But what I do think is a bad idea is playing a game August 21st. I think if we come back August 1st, we shouldn't play a game till after Labor Day. And I'm actually on a panel with some coaches in the East that really think that we probably should only play 9 games this year, play 9 non-conference games, get rid of conferences, and allow max preps to set the playoffs. And there's a strong push by this group in the East of coaches, and our voice is really not ever heard very much by the people in Chapel Hill. But if they really want to talk about safety and things like that, we hope that it's something they will look at and hear what we're trying to propose. And we're trying to make this thing as safe for the kids, safe for coaches, safe for the fans, because really high school football cannot stand playing without our crowds on Friday night. It costs too much, and our sport helps take care of so many other sports that let's just all be smart about this thing. If we want to come back August 1st, great, but let's not play any games till after Labor Day, and let's really take safety in the factor.
Do you see more of you hosting a Jamboree like you did last year?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely got one set up to host. I mean, we've got 6 to 8 teams already signed up to come in, and don't ask me off the cuff who they are because I can't list all of them. But no, we've got a good group coming back in, and we're excited about that. We're definitely going to need the work. All of us are going to need the work, and it's a good big time, and the people in our communities have been real supportive of feeding the teams that come in and doing. Our touchdown club has been phenomenal in that, and we want to do something like that. I had it all set up and lined up before we left school March 13th. So we're just kind of sitting and waiting on what the state's going to allow us to do, and we all hear back channel stuff when this and the other might happen. But until the state actually says you can do X, Y, and Z, everything's kind of put on hold.
Because I know as a sports photographer myself and sports reporter, I really enjoyed like when Cleveland came and like Aiden Griffin, those schools that like not many people around this like town can see or like travel far.
Well, Aiden Griffin will be back. Cleveland is going. I think their coach told me they were going to another big time sponsored deal. But we'll have just off the cuff. Like West Brunswick's coming. Aiden Griffin will be back. Hopton, North Lenoir, couple school in Raleigh's coming. Like I said, I don't have it right here in front of me. Well, that was all the plan, and 2 other schools, like I said, don't ask me off the cuff who it is. It's sitting on a piece of paper on my desk. But, yeah, the plan is to have that deal, and then we're probably going to end up either going to Kinston or going to Jacksonville that Friday for their Jamboree, and the season will be here before we know it.
Are you ready for the season to come back?
Well, I mean, as a football coach, you're always ready, ready for the next deal. I miss my kids. I miss just the daily banter and the back and forth that we have with each other, the competitiveness we have with each other. It's, one thing that's great about my group is they all like to compete. Or as Michael Jordan said last night in the Last Dance, they all have, and we all have a competition problem. So, we're always competing at something and giving each other a hard time about something and trying to compete and beat each other at something. So, that's why it makes it fun being around these kids. I just miss them, and I hope everything with them and their family or their families, I hope everything's good with them.
Coach, would you like to plug your social media?
At Aycock Football is on Twitter, and at Aycock Football Head on Instagram. So that's where you can find all the information about our football program, all the things that we're trying to do, whether in the community or just around our school. And our community, like I said, has been great to us. Our people are phenomenal, and lucky to have them. And football will be here eventually. I can't tell you when, but it'll be here eventually, and we just got to be ready. And when it comes back, I look forward to seeing everybody, and hope the stands are full for sure.
Thank you for listening to Brandon Sports Talk with Coach Steve Brooks from Aycock. Please feel free to subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, and on Twitter at talk_Brandon. Thank you, Coach Brooks, for having this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. You're doing a great job, and always love to see you there on our sidelines, and look forward to seeing you back some this year.
Can't wait.